Resettlement day is always a stressful day. So you've bought the property, 6 weeks later, you're moving in. We're going to teach you how to have the slickest and smoothest settlement day and what to watch out for. Stay tuned.
Good morning. You're on mute. Hey.
I've still got music playing.
Is it good music?
It was the same music. The intro played twice. What happened there?
Okay. I don't know. It's all right on our end. I got a bit burnt on the weekend.
It was raining yesterday. How'd that happen?
Just playing a bit of football. I think the AstroTurf, lets the heat bounce back up maybe.
Wow. You did get burnt, eh?
Yeah, I got to be really careful this summer, or by the end of the next sort of 6 months, I could be looking at getting some skin off, like grafted off my bum and put on my nose or something. It's looking pretty shiny.
But it wasn't even sunny yesterday. It's like, what's that? What do you call that? Passive.
Always shiny at Cromer Park. Always sunny at Cromer Park.
Yeah, wow. Be careful, kids. Be careful.
Yeah. Pretty in pink.
Well done to Argentina.
Yes.
Argentina.
Yep. But yeah. On with the show. I've got a little background behind me this morning because we're talking about pre-settlements, the big day where money and keys are exchanged.
Look, it's a stressful day, guys. It's a really, really stressful day, and there's things that you should be watching out for. And it's things that I guess we're a really good reference point because we see it go really, really smooth, and we see it go really, really wrong. So this morning we're going to go through over 5 minutes and just teach you the things to watch out for. So then it's a silky smooth and easy transition as can be.
Good morning, Luke. Yeah, absolutely.
Luke's a good one. Luke's a good one for this as well.
It's interesting because I think it's worth noting that a good agent has a lot of help when making it go smooth. They add a lot of value, but sometimes some of these things are a little bit out of our control, and we're a bit reliant on sometimes tenants or the outgoing owner to do the right thing. And it's difficult because sometimes you've got owners that need to be in the property and are moving out right in the last minute, and then other times it's a bit easier where they're out maybe a week before or a few days before, and you've got a bit of time.
Everything compresses, and it's stressful because you've been packing a house for 1-2 weeks. You don't know where anything is. Financially, you're chasing banks, and banks are chasing you. Solicitors are chasing you. You're chasing them. It's just a high stress period. So you want to be nice and structured on your pre-settlement. You had one sort of go wrong on Thursday, Friday, Billy, and that's what's brought this on today. It went wrong, but it all went right in the end. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, it didn't go drastically wrong. There was no, I guess when you're looking at the scale of smooth at one end, disaster at another, I guess smooth would be no complications, flies through really easy, everyone's happy. And I guess disaster would be what's the worst you've seen? Maybe huge delays, big penalties, people in tears. Anything else?
Yeah, I think something important to say is we've never seen a property not settle. So I think sometimes as a buyer or a seller, you may stress that it's not going to happen if it could derail so much that doesn't happen, a settlement. But I've never seen that. So generally, it's okay. It will settle. There will be argy-bargy between you and the vendor potentially. It will be adjudicated and facilitated by your solicitors,
Yeah.
solicitor of the purchaser and the solicitor of the vendor, but it always will happen. And there's definitely a lot of momentum there between lawyers and banks to make it happen. And yeah, so I think first and foremost, don't stress that it won't happen.
It's true. So we've had two interesting ones recently, actually. As you said, one on Thursday. It was definitely nowhere near, the bad end of the spectrum where there was no tears or anything. It just got a little bit intense going back and forth between getting a few particulars, sorted out. So in this instance, there was the owner was just in the process of moving out and finishing, bits and bobs. So there was, some storage to empty and things like that. I guess communication from the start, when we look back on how we could have made it smoother from the agent's perspective, really clapped, because there was an agreement that some bits internally would stay. So there was some bits internally would be removed. So that included like a fixed TV cabinet. In hindsight, it would have been easier to say, let's just get rid of everything rather than try and save one small bit of the TV cabinet. Thoughts?
TV bracket was TV, and TV bracket, I guess, is another one. Do you know what? TVs aren't worth as much as they used to be. So I'm seeing TVs being left behind a lot more, and TV brackets being left behind a lot more. And then sometimes people are being TV snobs a little bit now because they've got their telly that they love. They're going, you know what? I don't want that telly. If you want to leave a 3-year-old telly, I'm not interested. But I would encourage people these days, because it seems like it's a bit of a topic of contention now with these TV brackets. I'd just say, look, leave the brackets, guys. Leave the brackets and leave the cables, because it's bloody expensive to get that put in. And even leave the telly or take the telly. Who cares?
It's even
the last the last two transactions were both around that.
It's even expensive to get rid of it, because you've still got to take the bracket off and then patch up the where it was mounted on. So I think if you're a vendor and you know for a fact that you're going into another property and you maybe going to do a different setup, mark it as an inclusion that the TV brackets are staying, because in this instance it would have saved a lot of hassle. Or if they're going, then mark it as an exclusion. Another one that we that came up on Thursday was really big pot plants. Now in this instance, being an apartment top floor like a penthouse, there was a bylaw in the contract that said to meet council regulations, there had to be some sort of greenery on the top. And so that's where the big pot plants came into use. But the purchaser didn't want them. So that's where the solicitors, again, had to go back and forth on that one.
So there's probably, where it would be good is a bit of agent responsibility here as well. I think if you can foresee this sort of stuff, and as a buyer, as a seller, or even a buyer, if you can foresee this stuff prior to exchange. So when a seller is getting a contract prepared, try to see if there's a couple of small cheats that you can have, and by way of leaving stuff behind that you don't want. It can always be struck out of the contract, but if you had, like you said, if you had these television stuff and these pots in the contract, I think the purchaser is sort of more worried about buying the property rather than the finer things, and would just say, look, let's just not cause any more harder things in this negotiation. Just keep that stuff. So I reckon that's a real good win if a seller can slip this stuff in prior to exchange, or even prior to preparation of the contract. That's super smart.
Agreed. We've got a couple of other ones here. So Lisa said cleaning. We'll get on to that in just a sec. We've got a bit of a pre-settlement checklist that'll help buyers. But another one that also came up is outstanding special levies recently. That's a really interesting one.
Yeah, be careful because you want it to be disclosed in the contract, even if there's a levy that is 1 or 2 years away that has been struck. You may think as a seller you have avoided that, and not necessarily the case. It may be deducted from settlement. So just make sure, certainly as a seller, that you've divulged all the information to your solicitor by way of levies or works to the building, because you could get tangled up in it on settlement.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, I've now got I'm going to do a bit of a share screen and I'm going to give you some quick fire questions. So this is just found online. There's plenty of them. Take your pick as to which one you'd like to use. But this is a bit of a pre-settlement checklist. I guess it just gives you a quick few dot points under each section of the property to just check. So you've got doors, windows, kitchen. You obviously just want to have a look at appliances and make sure they're working.
A purchaser always gets stuck with lack of keys because it's a bit of a booby trap. It happens right at the last minute and it's too late. So I would even suggest as a purchaser some sort of inventory of what keys you'll be receiving on settlement, because every time you're missing a key or no key, there's a couple $100 there for a key replacement. So I would be asking if it could be provided to yourself what keys you'll get on settlement. It happens on rentals, but it doesn't happen on sales. It's weird.
Yeah, true that. Mark, I got a question for you. Is a professional clean required as in law per the contract, or is that just the right thing to do? Not
required, but let's face it, the buyer is paying $500,000 or $1 million to you. Have some respect. So give it to them as best as you can give it. And if you've got to hire a professional to do it, because it's above your standard or not your style, then hire a professional to clean the place.
Okay, cool. Keys for the property. You said in rentals, it's considered one full set of keys per tenant on the lease. So you've got 2 adults on the lease, there needs to be 2 full sets of keys. If you require fobs to get in or swipe cards to get into basements for parking and things like that, it's expected there's 2 of them, or sometimes per car space. So if you've got 2 car spaces, 2 fobs to get down there.
Yep.
You're saying that's not so much, it's not so closely looked at in sales like that?
No, well, you with rentals, you sign over exactly what you're collecting and you're expected to drop that back as well. But with rentals, you tend to find keys at the property, find keys with the agent, lots of keys with the agent, 1 key with the agent, lots of keys with the property. There's no structure behind it. But I guess the hardest thing is actually missing keys that are after you've settled on the property. You've really got no recourse to say, hey, I'm missing a buzzer.
Yeah, true.
You do have recourse. You do have recourse, but you're not going to claim it. That's the painful bit.
It just makes it more difficult. Yeah, absolutely. Another one I thought it was a good one to mention, getting friendly with the neighbours. It's a nice way to get up.
That's classy.
I agree. I do like. It was funny, on Thursday, the neighbour actually popped the head over just to say hi. And they thought it was the owner moving out, but it was the new guys moving in. She got really embarrassed.
So I reckon that's really classy, because I was actually talking to my barber on Friday about it, love thy neighbour. And I think on settlement, it's a really important thing to start on the right foot, because you may be stressed, you may be not have much time or even a short fuse, but take the time to say g'day to the neighbour. It's your first impression, and if you get the neighbour thing wrong, you're screwed. So it can make life so painful. So I reckon all the effort you can to just make a great neighbour of and friend of next door to you, be it strata, be it a Torrens title house, because it's going to go, that relationship's going to go on for a very, very long time, and it's very important to you and your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one which I really like, which makes it really smooth, is often when you've been living in a property 5-10 years, there's just small kind of tips and tricks that you can't put in. It's almost like you got to put them in a manual, but you can't write them down. Sometimes you just need to show them. So often as an agent, you might turn up to the property 5 or 10 minutes before your pre-settlement. The owner just runs you through a few bits that they've kind of worked out over the years, to pass on. I really like, it's a nice touch. And along with that, sometimes it's like there's a spare half can of paint left behind, or a spare, few tiles, things like that. It's just a nice touch to add.
Take the paint and take the tiles. Don't be a snob, because you would be shocked how much time and money that's going to save you by just having that paint colour, or having that tile colour. It's just so much better. So don't throw them out. Keep them. It can save you a bucket load.
Yeah, absolutely. Pre-settlements, usually we like to do them sort of 24, 48 hours before. If the property is vacant, you can be a little bit flexible with it. But that just gives you enough time that if any issues do occur, then you've got that, day or so just to nut it out. Just making sure ultimately there's no real delay to settlement.
Yeah,
I think we probably covered the most of it there. Anything that you think I missed?
Dude, I think you nailed it. I think and look, I'm big on that neighbour thing on settlement. I reckon that's huge. There's a couple of things there. Take the paint, take the tiles. That's huge. I think check on those keys. That's huge. I think make sure you've got plenty of notification for your banks. How much on settlement not happening due to banks not being ready is a load of crap. It's you're not ready. So I think make sure you're writing your bank and writing your solicitor 4, 5, 6 weeks before settlement to make sure that all comes in on time, because how many times we don't see settlements happen, they get delayed because of banks not being ready. You should be just writing your bank really, really hard that you haven't left any room for failure.
Yeah, the small things and it's always the small things that add up towards the end. That then if you get 1 or 2 or 3 small things combined, it just gets timely, and time is money. As you come in towards settlement. So a lot of it can be avoided. And I think like the people at the banks, they just need a bit of a nudge, a bit of a reminder.
Yeah, small and regular. And just make sure that everyone's on it, solicitors on it, banks on it, outgoing bank, ingoing bank, all that stuff. Small but regular touches.
That's it. Thanks very much.
6 days till Christmas.
I'm dressing up as Rudolph if this carries on. It's a bit of a joke.
Yeah, it's solid. How many days till Christmas? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, Christmas Eve. It's 5 days.
It's closing in. And
closing in.
Through. Ciao.
Yep, we're available all the way through. Take care, everyone. Thanks, Billy Bob.
Thank you. Bye.
See you, mate. Bye.